Alright boys, good morning. Today is Sunday and we are doing our daily content piece, right? So we were now doing the double check on the market analysis, and I just thought let's just quickly film the daily content piece as well, because we actually have a high probability for a peace agreement to be signed today, right? And in that case, most likely our analysis will get completely run over, right? Meaning that the markets will most likely open with a huge gap if we actually have this deal being signed. If not as well, right? So either way we will have a gap, right, upon having the markets open. And in case we have the deal being signed, we will see a huge drop in the Canadian dollar and the US dollar, right? The Canadian dollar is mainly supported by oil prices. Oil prices will go through the ground if we have the Strait of Hormuz being reopened, right? Which is the promise Trump keeps on making for a long time now. But today, he actually announced that today we will have a deal being signed, right? At this point, if he's still talking bluff like that, man, he's in trouble. That's why I'm thinking this is legit, right? And if this is legit, that's very good. We finally have this period of time with a lot of headlines being come to an end. But at the same time, our entire market analysis will for sure get scrambled because of the huge gap we will have. And on top of that, we're focusing on the technicals, right? Not really considering the fundamentals. I was actually thinking that this whole entire peace negotiation thing is bluff once again, because it has been for a long time now. And so our main bias is to buy the US dollar, continue to buy the US dollar, continuation, right? With the risk off sentiment. But if we have this peace agreement actually being signed, then we will be dealing with a strong risk on sentiment, right? US dollar will drop, the Canadian dollar will drop, AUD and NZD will take over, right? And so in that case, we will pretty much have to restructure the way we do our analysis. But in case we do not have this agreement being signed, which at this point is the lower probability, because I don't think this guy Trump is gonna take it to that level of a fake, headlines, just talking bluff. And so, but if that happens, the US dollar will pump, the Canadian dollar will pump, AUD and NZD will drop, right? Long story short, there's just a brief overview over the currency market, right? So GBP card right here on our screen. This is actually one of the top pairs for the following week. I believe this pair will make its way among our Elite 5. We haven't been trading this in a long time, but as you can see, we have multiple high probability scenarios, and it's also supported by the fundamental thesis, right? In case we have the Strait of Hormuz reopening, we will see a strong drop in the Canadian dollar, which is supported by oil prices. Oil prices will drop if we have the Strait of Hormuz open, right? It's all a chain reaction. You must understand it. You must always ask what happens next, right? Second order thinking. What happens after that? And what happens after that, right? Always ask yourself what happens next, because that's where the real results can be found, right? Under the obvious outcomes, behind the obvious outcomes, you always must anticipate what happens after it, right? And after that, what happens, right? That's how you understand reality better, right? Cool. So GBP CAD, beautiful scenario. We have a daily double bottom, actually daily reverse head and shoulders. That right there is our number one scenario for this week, right? A retest on that AOI, which is quite likely because we have this doji, right? We have this higher high, and now price, there is a high probability for price to form a high low, retest that strong AOI, which has been used as a resistance level several times before, right? And now being used as a support, high probability. Once again, we are talking probabilities. Then the weekly time frame had also formed this beautiful double bottom pattern. That's the previous structure point. Price had also shifted structure to bullish on the weekly time frame. Massive bullish engulfing. This right here looks stunning, right? Overall, that also looks like a reversed in shoulders. The right shoulder of it is pretty much the double bottom, looking beautiful. 4-hour time frame had also established a clean bullish trend, and that AOI right there pretty much contains the previous structure point and also the beginning of the strong upwards impulse, which was caused by this double bottom, right? Retest of the neckline, retest of the previous structure point right there, retest of the 4-hour EMA. This right here, so this right here is a stronghold AOI, right? Multiple structure points, multiple EMAs, beautiful rejections on it. It has been used as a strong resistance. Now there is a high probability for price to use that as a strong support. So that's our number one AOI for this pair, GBP CAD, which might be our number one pair for the week, right? Actually looks very beautiful, right? Yeah, so that's GBP CAD. I just gave you an example just to see. And now what we will do is we will go to each and every single one of the scenarios, which by the way are just hypothetical scenarios. So the way we go about this is every Saturday we go through each and every single one of the pairs. We identify the trend first of all, so we identify the bias, and then we pretty much write predetermined scenarios, right? We see where structure points are positioned on our AOIs, where price is rejecting certain levels, and we are pretty much writing down predetermined ideal scenarios, right? So these right here, as you can see, all of them have A++ grades, right? A++, A++. That's one because we have multiple higher time frame patterns, right? Which are we consider them for multiple AOIs above. For instance, we have this daily double bottom / reverse in shoulders right here. Even though price is there, for that AOI we will still consider the pattern because usually price has a strong reaction from such higher time frames patterns, right? So usually such a big pattern on the higher time frames is causing a strong reaction in price action, right? That's why we are considering that pattern for the AOI above, right? And so yeah, we are writing either confluences that have already happened, like patterns like that, and then we are also writing hypothetical scenarios, hypothetical confluences like candlestick rejections, for instance, right? For instance, for this we already have the engulfing. Price had rejected daily AOI number 8, which is our top AOI for the week, forming a bullish engulfing on it. But for the break and retest scenario right there, I'm anticipating price to break above it with an engulfing, and so that will be a candlestick rejection of that AOI, right? That's a hypothetical confluence, right? But then prior to entering a trade, we always double check the markets, we always double check the predetermined scenario, and we update the checklist based on live price action, right? So each confluence is actually valid with the live price action. This is just a pre-market preparation before the week starts. We want to have some predetermined scenarios just so we have everything ready to go in case we have our entry signal being provided on one of our AOIs, right? That's how we stay posted. We have started this way of analyzing the markets and preparing the markets since we were pretty much trading 22 pairs simultaneously, which was for sure not the way to go. but now we are doing it, so we see which pairs have the best higher probability scenarios, right? And which pairs pretty much look the best. And out of all of the 22 pairs, we only choose 5 of them, right? So 5 ideal pairs, right? The best pairs for the following week, and we only look at those and trade those within that week, right? We might actually shrink this even further to only 3 pairs, but for now this works beautifully, right? Because we get to focus deeply and get intimate with those specific pairs, other than pretty much shattering the focus across 22 pairs, simultaneously switching in between them, which is not viable. And that was obvious. Now that I'm thinking back on it, I was just caught in this execution loop, constantly fighting the noise on the lower time frames, constantly pretty much scalping. It was a crooked approach. Thankfully, I finally awakened, let's say, and I made the right decision and the right refinements that will, of course, that have already pushed the needle forward, right? Cool. So I'm gonna stop yapping now. This is the BB card. We have a few more pairs left to do the double check on, and then we will finish the work and just get outside. Alright, it's Sunday. We're trying to refresh, get some fresh air before a new trading week starts. Cool. Now this is me, Shoni. Keep on striving for greatness, brother, because you are meant for it and absolutely nothing less. Let's